everyone, my name is Nancy Connolly. I'm the General Manager here at Q4 Launch, and today we're going to talk about 3 things to automate right now to supercharge your marketing efforts. I'm also going to throw in 2 things to not automate and make sure you always avoid. Let's talk a little bit about digital marketing automation. Why are we even talking about this? For one, finding opportunities to automate your digital marketing efforts is a way to boost effectiveness, saves time that otherwise you would be spending doing mundane tasks, and we all know we can take any extra minutes that we could possibly find and eliminate time spent on something that's not really valuable. To free up more room in our days to focus on those key strategic initiatives and priorities and executing those tasks that really you're the only one who's able to execute. So we'll talk about a lot of tips today to automate, but I think the most important message to just keep in mind this entire time that we're talking is that automation saves time, but it still requires a lot of guidance and a lot of input. We can't do a set it and forget it type of model. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first thing that you need to be automating right now is your performance monitoring and data tracking. We preach all the time about be in your data, be in your analytics, take a look at how you're pacing with your revenue and the PMS side of things. What does occupancy look like? So we talk about being in the data all the time, but it can be very time consuming to actually get in the data. So especially for each of you as innkeepers, as business owners, finding ways to automate that reporting and that tracking is especially valuable. So one of the things I'm going to walk you through 2 different recommendations that I have for how to look at this just within your analytics. And the first is, and then we'll pull up a video on this, is how to create a custom alert in analytics. So on the left-hand side on the customization tab, you'll go down to custom alerts. Go ahead and click that button for new alerts. And then you can go ahead and create a ton of different kinds of alerts in here. Let's say you want one for just, let me know when my revenue decreases by more than 15% on a weekly basis and comparing week over week. So you'll go in there, you'll select the date range that you want to look at. You'll select email me if it does fall behind this parameter I've set. You can go in there and do this on different traffic segments. For this example, we'll do all traffic, show me revenue, and select decreases more than, and put your percentage in there. So for this example, we'll use 15%. And then you do save. And automatically you'll have a new custom alert set up where you'll get an email every single time that your revenue falls below those parameters. Yeah. The next piece that I want to talk through is, let's say you constantly are looking at the same type of report in analytics or doing a similar analysis. So we'll walk through how to create a saved report so you don't have to manually click through all of those filters and get the report set up each and every time you want to go in there and look at it. So let's go back over to your analytics, and again, we'll pull up another video here, and we'll show how to do that saved report. So the saved report lives over in that customization tab also. So if you'd already created it, it's right there, saved reports. To create one from scratch, go ahead and navigate to your whatever the report is. For this example, we'll go to the source medium report, which shows traffic and all of your metrics by different sources. So let's say we're looking at this for a consistent period. I'm putting in dates here for year to date compared to last year. I'm going to have my users in there. I want to look at revenue, so I'm adding revenue in there as a metric. But again, this can be whatever you want. Let's say I want to look at this on a weekly basis, and I'm consistently pulling this report. So after I've done that, you'll see I navigated to the top right there and clicked Save. I'm naming the report something that resonates with me so that when I go to pull that report again in the future, I can easily find it. I click Save. It takes a second. And then when you navigate to your saved reports over on the left-hand side, you'll see that report that you just created right there. This is a very fast and easy way to quickly be able to access reports, automatically pull them the way that you want to pull them, so that way you can save time getting to that data. The next thing I want to talk about with automation and monitoring your performance is around SEO. There are a ton of tools out there that'll help you with keyword monitoring and backlink monitoring so that you don't have to manually do that. Raise your hand right now if you're guilty of pulling up one or two keywords and saying, oh no, I'm not in a certain particular spot. Something's not going well, or I've fluctuated a spot or two, or vice versa. I'm in the number one on this one keyword, so I know I'm doing really well. I know that a lot of you have done this because I've had lots of conversations about this, but that just doesn't give you that full picture of what's going on. And if all we're doing to monitor SEO performance is thinking of keywords or knowing of our top keywords and then going and searching those, it doesn't give the full picture. So I'd highly recommend going ahead and setting up automated SEO reports and pulling data for your full comprehensive SEO keyword rankings portfolio. One great tool for this is Google Search Console. This is Google's data of your actual site's data that automatically aggregates all of your keyword rankings. You can monitor different queries, what pages are ranking. You can see how many clicks they're getting, what's the impressions, what are particular click-through rates for a keyword. It pulls all of that for you. That's probably the best true source of data to use. And again, that's all comprehensive and automatically pulled together for you that you have access to when you set it up with your website. There's another tool out there that I really like. It's a third-party tool called SEMrush. They automatically aggregate all of your keyword rankings as well. And they'll, for example, here on this screenshot, this is one of our VR customers in the West Virginia mountains. And this shows their keyword rankings over time. So you can see it's increasing and it's building over time, and it also shows the positions. This gives us a good health indicator of overall how they're doing, rather than continuously manually spending that time thinking of keywords and pulling them up and looking at the search results, when instead you can automate that process. The other thing related to performance monitoring is with your PMS data. A lot of them have beautifully built automated reports that aggregate that data for you. They have the ability to create custom dashboards, and some of them even offer automating those reports to be sent to you. So explore your PMS, and there's so many out there, and I know a lot of you are on different ones. So go ahead and check that out and see, do they have that reporting for me? And if they do, make sure it's set up in a way that allows you to quickly get to those KPIs, and you can get a quick pulse check on that rather than spending hours doing manual digging of data and navigating to different reports. So reporting automation is incredibly important. However, you need to understand the why behind those reports, which is still very manual. For example, we set up that custom alert to alert us if there's a revenue decrease by over 15% compared to the previous week, when in reality, let's say the previous week was our spring break and we know it was going to be a big season, or we had a huge wedding block come through and we were fully booked out. Whatever the case is, you of course need to know that context. But then let's say there's not something monumental like that causing data fluctuations. You still need to be able to dig in and figure out what's driving that performance. So make sure you don't automate and then think you don't need to do the analysis, because it's really important to understand the why so that we can take next steps to correct or expand upon a current opportunity that we identify. Number 2, lead nurturing. So whether you're prospecting to a particular guest, or perhaps it's your homeowner inventory prospects to build up your portfolio there, you need to make sure you have a plan to nurture those leads and consistently follow up. And I think consistently is definitely the key there. Oftentimes we'll have our prospects then go ahead, and most email marketing strategies stop at, let me build an email one time, I'll go ahead and send that out. And you kind of get what you get from that particular email. There's nothing wrong with that strategy, but that strategy can't live alone. There needs to be a whole added layer there. And that's what we'll talk about next. Before we do, though, I do want to say there are a few quick tips of things that you can automate with your just regular emails that you're sending out. So scheduling those emails to get sent in advance so you don't have to remember to log on and go through that process of manually sending them. And then adding personalization elements. We know that personalization is incredibly powerful when people receive emails from businesses they love. So finding ways to automate that through your email platform, such as putting in a parameter to pull in somebody's name or their business name or something like that, that can be automatically done, so you don't have to manually go in there and customize emails for each individual person that you're sending to. So now pivoting to that email marketing automation for lead nurturing. This is something that you build a whole series of automation campaigns. You build it and they live forever, and they send consistently to those who participate in those trigger events. So for example, let's say somebody fills out a request to sign up for a newsletter, or they engage in some way with a lead generation element that's on your website. We've got to make sure we've got an email automation sequence in place to consistently hit that person at the right time in their life cycle. We've talked before about the 7 stages of the guest life cycle. So that's dreaming, selecting, booking, preparing, staying, sharing after you stay, and then returning. This is all about, that email automation sequence is all about hitting the right person at the right time with the right message. So as we think about our email automation strategy, it's how do we make sure that our strategy hits those people at the right time in that cycle, but that we're doing it consistently and not in a way that requires a lot of manual work. I think it's an important part of every marketing plan to have that component to grow leads and engage those leads to drive conversion. And we do see that those continuous sequence of emailing to those people, especially with a message that hits them at the right time, does lead to that higher conversion. So what about after they've booked? They enter into those 4 remaining stages of the guest life cycle. So that's they're preparing for their stay, they actually come to stay and experience the property, they're sharing after the fact, and then they're booking that return travel. So when we're thinking about our email automation series during there, so this is around number 3 of our tips of things to automate. It's that pre-booking. So we talked about that in terms of that lead generation component. So what to do while they're there, when to come, where to stay, what kind of offers do we want to offer them ahead of time. But then when they get to that pre-stay, so they've booked, it's marketing around extending your stay or stay add-ons. Perhaps there's a spa or a tour that they can book if they're coming to a vacation rental property, or upgrading their room. Or perhaps if there's a house right down the street that is a little bit nicer, perhaps upgrading to an entirely different house and changing that. Again, you may want to keep that reservation for your owners in the existing house. But again, thinking through those upgrade options. Once they're actually on the property, you can be sending a whole series of automations around how are things going. Just get an overall pulse check. Go ahead and request them to leave you a review at that time. They're already there. They're enjoying it. They're experiencing it. Perhaps you want to extend their stay, so that could be a message that we get out there. Or another opportunity to add add-ons if they're staying and they haven't yet booked in the restaurant or extended their stay. What are those additional add-ons that they can do? And then after they stay, that rebooking offer. So what can we put in front of them that it's going to entice them to stay and book again? A survey to get feedback, again, another review request, those anniversaries. There's so much that we can do there in that post-stay to try to drive additional revenue and value. We actually went ahead and built an entire product around this because there's so much value to be captured there. And this is our guest lifecycle automation product. So this is around after they've booked, a whole series of email automations campaigns set on their pre-arrival, that arrival, the departure, and then that rebooking stage. And there's 14 different touch points and messages that we've identified that we'll be continuously working to nurture that guest and add value throughout their stay. So those are my 3 tips to automate immediately. So performance monitoring and data tracking, your lead nurturing for people who are potential guests or potential homeowners to add inventory to the property, and then those guests during their guest life cycle. So that's the pre-arrival, the arrival, the actual experience, and then that rebooking. I did want to share two things to never automate, or automate with extreme caution and extreme oversight. So the first is around PPC. It is so easy to waste money in PPC. And a lot of times what we'll see is people will build those campaigns and kind of just set them and forget them, which means if you've got a certain match type on a keyword and all of a sudden your brand's showing up for some keywords that are completely irrelevant or not on brand, or let's say you don't have the right bidding parameters set into place, and you're just blowing budget, that is a recipe for disaster. So there is a lot that you can do to automate PPC, but without a lot of oversight and consistently checking it and making sure things are on track, you could be putting yourself at risk to waste budget without getting a strong return on that ad spend. If you think that you might be at risk for this, go ahead and take a look at what that return on ad spend is. I think industry average is about a 3 to 5x return there. We do typically see anywhere from 7 to 10x on a whole, and for some of our vacation rental customers, that's closer to a 17x. So I share that just so you can go ahead and take a look at your data and see where do I compare to some of those industry benchmarks there. Avoiding automation with content creation. This, I think I'm sure we've all come across an article that maybe doesn't quite read right, or you see PPC ad copy that just seems kind of spammy. There's a lot of technology out there to help you automate your content creation, and it's just not quite there yet. It still needs a lot of heavy editing, and oftentimes it still doesn't read to the quality level that I think you as a business owner or us as a marketing company would ever think is acceptable. There are elements of content creation that you can automate, such as idea generators if you're stuck and aren't quite sure what good SEO keywords may be. One example of that is when you're on Google and you're searching for something, it might say people also search for, or other relevant searches down at the bottom of the page. So that's one example of automatically pulling in ideas. But again, you still need to do that research and make sure that there's enough keyword volume there to make sense to actually go ahead and write content about. So I think the story here with automation is you need to constantly be reviewing that data, testing new things, iterating. You cannot set it and forget it, because what works before in the past may not continue to work. And oftentimes you need to be tweaking that strategy and just trying new things as it relates to what you have set up with automation. The ultimate goal of automation is to increase that efficiency, free up time so you can do the things that you do best, whether that's running the business. That's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. Delivering that high quality service to guests or whatever it may be. But since there still is a lot of manual work that needs to be done in order to execute a marketing strategy effectively, if this is something that you're attempting to do on your own, God bless you. I hope that a lot of these tips were helpful. But really that ultimate automation for you as an innkeeper, as a business owner, is to delegate this, whether that's your marketing team or maybe you have a director of marketing in-house, or outsourcing portions or pieces of this to freelance contractors and putting together a piecemeal approach there, or going the route of hiring an outside marketing agency. There's always economies of scale to be gained there as you continue to find ways to have different channels owned by different people, or maybe bringing the costs in-house or hiring the agency who can get a lot of those costs down for you. Whatever the solution is that's right for your business, make sure you're exploring it and taking an evaluation of how you're spending your time so that you can make sure you're spending that time on what's truly the most valuable use. And if you're not quite sure or need help navigating the different options and want to talk through it with us, we're happy to help and just have a conversation about what that could look like. Please feel free to reach out to us. Our email and our phone number are there on the screen. If you took something away from today's webinar that would be helpful, Please leave us a 5-star Google review. Those are so important to us and definitely help our business. But thank you all for spending some time with me today, and happy automating. I will look forward to talking to you all soon.